It's your Wednesday daily delivery. I am Michael Rand. Glad to have everybody back for another day. Hope you guys are having a tremendous day out there. Lots of good stuff to get to on the show, but no secret what we're going to start with today. Timberwolves pull out a Game 4 win against Dallas on Tuesday night, facing elimination 3-0 hole. No team in NBA history has come back from a 3-0 deficit to win the series. More often than not, the team doesn't even win a game. Wolves have at least done that now. 105-100 Tuesday night in Dallas, bringing Game 5 back to Target Center on Thursday night. Chip Scoggins and I will talk all about that game in just a minute here. No secret what we're going to start with today. A little bit of a show in reverse. Going to get to the interview in just a minute here. But one point I wanted to make is whatever you thought going into that game, whatever your disposition was about where this series might head as a whole, I am happy for Timberwolves fans that they get to see this team at Target Center at least one more time. It didn't feel right for this series to end in a sweep, for this season to end the way it could have ended Tuesday if Dallas had finished off Minnesota. It's not that kind of series, and it's not that kind of team to me. So for Minnesota to gut one out, to win this game, to get one at least in Dallas, to put some pressure, a little bit of pressure at least, a little bit of thought, a little bit of doubt in the Mavericks' heads, to not say, okay, yeah, nobody's ever done this before, we can't do this, to at least get it back to Target Center, to let the fans give them a lift, to let them say, hey, why not? Why not dare to think about coming all the way back? Why not dare to dream about that? I'm happy for everybody. I'm happy that they get a chance to do that. I'm happy they have this opportunity, and that's all I really want to say at the start of the show before we get to the serious Game 4 breakdown. Chip Scoggins with me to talk Timberwolves Game 4. Could have been the end of the season, Chip. Instead, Wolves win in Dallas 105-100. Stave off elimination. They're now 3-0 in elimination games in the playoffs, Chip, and give themselves a chance. I know the history says no way, right? 0-154 for NBA teams trying to come back from a 3-0 series deficit. This isn't your average 3-0 deficit, though. I'm not saying they're coming all the way back, but I don't mind their chances in Game 5. And if you win Game 5, it gets interesting. It got interesting tonight, at least.
Well, history says it's never been done, so it tells you how hard it is to do. But if you look at this, these are 4 games they could have won.
Yeah,
they led all 4 of these games late, so it's not like they've gotten blown out a couple times. You said, well, they had no chance in that game. No, they've had a chance in all 4 games, and Game 4 came down to the 2 factors that we talked about in the first 3 games. Yep. Instead of going Dallas's way, they went Minnesota's way. The 2 stars outplayed Dallas's 2 stars.
Yeah,
Ant and Towns produced better. They were better players tonight than Luka and Kyrie were, and they finished.
Yeah,
they made shots down the stretch, and so those 2 things haunted them the first 3 games and cost them a chance to win. And tonight, I really think this was about Towns, because he had the silly fouls. He had to go to the bench. And when he came back in, he made those 2 back-to-back threes that really just changed the game. I thought that was the pivotal moment in the game. And then when they had, when the game was there to be won, they went and did it. I was looking at, let's see, they were, what was it, 10 or 95-90 with 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
After Cap made that 3 and he called timeout. And that's kind of when Dallas took over in the first 3 games. Later, a couple times, but they made the plays.
They figured out how to stop the runs, right? To stop the bleeding. Yep. That's what they didn't do before. It's like when you needed a basket to kind of like calm everything down, quiet everybody down. I thought Kyle Anderson was really important again tonight.
Yeah.
Like the two Towns threes you referenced, came on Anderson's screens, just like subtle little plays, like
Yeah.
just freeing him up just enough. The one where he's kind of did like a little rub screen and Towns got loose at the top of the key. Then the next possession where Ant kind of dribbles into the paint. Anderson sets
Hmm.
just this little baseline screen. He's telling it, he's directing traffic. He's
Yeah.
telling Ant, here's where you go with the ball. Cat, you go stand over here. I'm gonna set this screen. It's like he was a quarterback calling a play in a huddle
Orchestrating it. Yeah.
and gets them that lead. And then of course, Cat fouls out, but by the time Cat fouls out, it's not like the game's over because they've fouled a couple times, like put Luca at the line, and if Luca makes that free throw, it's a 2-point game after he hits
Yeah.
could have been a 4-point play, but they do just enough, but they hadn't done just enough in the first three games.
Yeah. And to go back to Kyle Anderson, I think a lot of times when fans and me are like, why is this guy playing? What does he bring? And we hear Chris Finch talk all the time and teammates talk all the time about how smart he is and how he understands the game and how he impacts it in ways that maybe go beyond the score sheet. Those two examples you just gave are exact, right? The second three, he's telling Towns, motion, get to the corner,
right,
and then tells Ant, skip it over there, and he sets the screen. That doesn't happen if he doesn't make that. But also, Kyrie and Luka shot terribly tonight.
They did.
They were 13 of 39.
Yeah.
5 of 17 from three. You have to win that game when they shoot that poorly. Yeah. I don't know if you can count on them shooting that poorly again. And so you're going to have to stay out of foul trouble. You're going to have to cut down on the turnovers, which killed them. But they took advantage of a night when, particularly Kyrie, he was really, really off. He was missing shots that he made the first three games. And so and they didn't make – I know they made a couple of them. Jones made a couple corner threes.
He did,
but their supporting cast didn't shoot. P.J. Washington had a really poor shooting night. So they didn't – Dallas overall didn't shoot it the way they had the first three games. And maybe that's to be expected. I don't think they're going to keep all their guys are going to keep shooting at the clip that they were. So, but that is a game. When you get Kyrie and Luka to shoot 13 of 39, you have to win it. You cannot lose that game.
I thought the Wolves defense impacted some of that too. I think this was they found it's nearly impossible to defend those two guys just because it's like you're picking between like letting Luka or Kyrie go one-on-one, and then they're probably going to eat you up unless you've got, unless you can stay in front of them and you can keep from fouling, or if you're doubling, then they're either going to get that lob or they're going to get the guy in the corner, and it's hard to kind of get everything you need out of that. But I thought they mixed enough coverages in game 4. They kind of threw some stuff at Luka, kind of got him off his spot enough times. But you're right, he was 7 of 21, Kyrie 6 of 18. Washington 3 of 13. I didn't realize he missed that many shots.
Yeah, he couldn't make
9
one.
from 3. He couldn't find it. I mean, Dallas shot 35% overall from 3 though, so it's not like it was a frigid shooting night for them, and it's not like the Wolves shot efficiently.
Look, I mean, they shot 14 of what? Dallas shot a ton of threes.
They shot 14 of 40, so they're 35%.
Yeah.
Wolves 11 of 24. So Wolves shot way fewer threes this game. They were game 1. They shot like 49 threes. Was that game 1? And then
downhill. I mean, I thought they attacked, and that's not having Lively in there.
Lively was a big impact. Yeah.
When Gafford goes out, they suffer big time.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name that they come in, but he's just not very good.
Kleber. Kleber coming back from injury too, and he was actually a +2. I'm surprised.
He was not Kleber, but the other big that they bring in first, Powell.
Oh, Powell.
Powell.
Yeah.
He's just not very good, and so they attack when he's in there. But I thought Ant attacked. I thought the guy did a really nice job of getting Gobert involved there in the second half. He finished with I think 13 points.
Yep.
So he was key around the basket, and so they were getting more in the paint than they have in the first 2 games. They outscored them in the paint in game 3. So I think they're being more intentional about trying to attack them and not just settling for threes. Defensively, I thought they were really good first half. I thought they had Luka taking tough shots, and he was holding the ball a lot.
Yeah,
I thought they made him take more tough shots. I felt like Kyrie just missed some open threes that he normally makes.
That's fair.
And he had to make some tough shots too, but I thought they did a really good job on Luka. He's going to, because of how much the ball's in his hand, how many shots he takes, he's still going to have I think he had a triple-double, right? So he's still going to impact the game, but he wasn't efficient. and
No, he
Kyrie
was.
wasn't
Yeah.
efficient, and that's the biggest thing. If you can force them into those shots, tough shots, and then have a low shooting percentage, I think you have to be happy with the way they play defense.
Yeah, I thought Conley was really good in the first half, especially kind of keeping them
Yep.
afloat, driving when he needed to drive. He was only 1 of 4 from three, but he was doing kind of what he needed to do to keep that thing in there. Ant barely took a rest in the second half. I
Yeah. Well,
don't
he
like.
can't.
I know.
It was subtle things because I thought, they had timely shots. I thought Nikhil Alexander-Walker hit a couple timely
Yeah,
threes.
finally.
I thought Jaden McDaniels hit a couple timely threes when it
Yep.
just felt like that the game could maybe get away from him, or Dallas could kind of start to get on that run. You mentioned it earlier. They limited the runs, and I felt like they had timely shots from guys other than Ant and Towns. I thought Gobert had some big moments there in the second half, and
Yep.
so they just played, to me, with the level of desperation that they had to have.
I said that on Twitter right at the start of the game. You could see it. Like, I wish they would have played like this at the start of game one. Like, you can't
Yeah.
force urgency. I get that. Like, it's your mindset shifts when you're facing a win or go home game, but it's, where was that energy? Were they just that defeated or just that drained after the Denver series? Was it like, did they think this was going to be easier? Like, there was an edge that I hadn't seen until tonight.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think you mentioned it about Ant after game, was it 2 or 3, where you said he doesn't look like he's having fun.
No,
And
I
then
was
the
after
very next
game two. I think it was after two.
game 2, and then the very next day in Dallas when they had media availability, Ant says, "I got to get back to having fun out there."
He just didn't look like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they lost that game, but still, why were they more the urgency not there? Like, because this is this is a win or go home. But here's the thing, Mike. The temptation would be like, okay, now you go home and you win a game at home. Well, they haven't been great at home.
No,
And you can't just automatically assume you're going to play great because you're going home.
No.
They have to bring that same desperation and urgency to Target Center Thursday night, and then see if that puts the pressure on Dallas to be like, okay, we don't have to go back for a game 7, but they have to play with this same mindset. And it was good to hear Ant say that after the game on the TV interview on the floor. He said, "We haven't done anything. We've won one game," and that's true. That is the absolute right mindset.
It is, but they got the one, and it is, they haven't really been like a super streaky team this year, I wouldn't say, but they are a momentum team, right? Like they're the emotional swings for this team. Like, you can tell, like, in the regular season, I don't think they were necessarily streaky because they could get away with playing kind of meh and win games against, some of the lesser teams. So probably didn't show up as much, but there's definitely like an emotional swing that you can tell when they start feeling good about themselves.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think they like got all the way tonight, but they started to feel a little bit better about themselves. So that's the thing that I feel like they can carry into game 5. And then, like I said, if you win that, then, it's like, you can beat this team. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to win 4 in a row. I mean, now they're going to win 3 in a row, but, it's going to be hard to win that many in a row because all these games are going to be close. Like, I think it was, speaking of, by the way, well, the complete opposite of the Denver series, right? Denver series,
I know,
blowouts all over the map. This game is like every game going down to the last 2 minutes and who's going to make the shot. And it's probably should be like a 2-2 series at this point. That's what probably is driving them crazy right now, is like, you give away, out of 1, 2, and 3, you should have at least won one of those. At least game 2, where
two is where
two's
you
the
gave
one
that
that's probably going to haunt them.
Yeah, 2 you gave away, but they can't think about it. What's done is done.
No, what's done is done.
But speaking of momentum, I think more than anyone, I want to see what this does for Cat, because you could tell in game 3. I thought the pressure of missing shots started to get him, because the more he shot, the worse it got in terms of he wasn't getting close.
Right.
And so I felt like he started pressing, and so for him to come out and see some go in and play well, he's got to eliminate the silly fouls. He's got to be on the floor. And at least two of it fouled. Maybe a third one was just
offensive,
You
and
just,
just
you just
silly
get
stuff.
like going over the back for the rebound. Just
Right.
you don't need to do that.
Well, and
But
the elbow to the guy's PJ
yeah, the
Washington or
elbow.
Al Jones, I think it was elbow his face on the jumpers. Like, and he's sitting there like, what? Me? He's like,
Yeah,
yeah. Like you lean right into him. Like it's kind of even if you're trying to make it not look obvious, it kind of was obvious. That was his fifth foul. And I was like, I was going berserk at home. I was like, what are you doing? Like what that's
yeah.
like you're the one who's like driving this thing right now, but he to his credit kept it together
Kept it. Yeah,
and still continued to make plays down the stretch.
but it felt as bad as he was shooting, you felt like okay, and that's why I actually thought they were going to win this game because like there's going to be a game where Cat just catches fire.
Yeah.
He's too good a shooter to.
Right.
Everybody goes through slumps, but he's too good a shooter to not have a game where they start falling for him, and that's what we saw tonight. And he took good shots. I like that he was aggressive early going to the basket. He got a couple layups. He got blocked a couple times by Gafford, but that's going to happen. At least he's trying to attack, and then that set him up for the 3-pointers. And he's like, I think there could be some momentum with him. Like, feel okay now.
Yeah.
Now he can kind of probably exhale a little bit. Like we're not going to be talking about his shooting slump anymore.
Right.
Let's see if that almost kind of releases some tension around him and he plays well again Thursday night.
Yeah, those 1,500 shots a day paying off. You hear the inside the NBA crew like giving him saying that he said no, he not.
Yeah, there's not.
Yeah, that was fun. That was funny. It was like he is maybe prone to exaggeration in my experience.
Yeah. And he was. I mean, and I don't. When he said that, when I first heard it, I wasn't taking him literally. I think he was just saying it.
Picking a number out of thin air. Mm-hmm. You never know with Carl.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. He's definitely got some of that to him, and like they were teetering, man, tonight. It was like Cat was in foul trouble. Like Cat fouled out, Ant and Gobert both ended up with 5. Like that was like it was precarious all night, and it could have gone sideways at the end. I was like, they were up 6 with Conley about to shoot his second free throw with like 20 seconds left, and it should have been over at that point.
Yeah.
Conley misses the free throw. Luka comes down, gets fouled on the 3-pointer, makes the 3-pointer. You're like, oh my God, is this happening again?
Yeah, I know.
Luka misses the free throw. They get the ball back. They get the inbound to Nas.
Great inbounds play.
That was great. Another Kyle Anderson play. It was his inbounds pass. So, making the winning plays. I think Nah chased down a loose ball in the right around midcourt. That was a big play that got them a possession. So they earned this one, but they were flirting with it. They were flirting with it again.
Well, I tell you, a sneaky little stretch I thought too is at the end of the first half where you have Ant, Cat, and Gobert all on the bench with 3 fouls, and you're thinking, okay, here's where Dallas gets like a 6-0 run, and now they feel good. You go to the halftime tied. To me, that's a win for the Wolves when you have your 3 of your starters on the bench in foul trouble, and you're like, okay, who's going to score with this lineup they have?
I tweeted that too. I was like, where's the offense coming from here? You had like Kyle Anderson, you had like
Jade McDaniels.
Jade McDaniels are like, okay, good luck with that. Like
I think they had a couple baskets, but I think more than anything they held Dallas from scoring.
The defense was good. It's a good defensive lineup, but nothing else. Hit a shot in there. I think that kind of got him off the feeling better about himself. He was 2 for 5 from 3 tonight, which is it's not hot, but like 2 for 5.
But they were timely threes. I mean, the 2 that he made
5 is 40%.
Yeah, and the 2 were very timely. Yeah. So I mean, the end of halves were good.
They were better.
They were better, and the fact that again they were up 5 with 5 minutes to go, and they wound up winning by
5. By 5. 105, 100. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was 95-90 with 5 minutes to go after that Cat 3, and it was 10-10
after that, and and they built it up. I don't think Dallas played great in this game. I think some of that was the Wolves. I think though Dallas didn't take this game for granted, or they didn't like say, we've got a lot of different chances. Like I think Dallas was motivated to win. Like they wanted to close this out. They wanted to be like, we don't want to go back to Minnesota. We want to rest as much as possible. So for Dallas to go in there with that mindset and still lose, to know that Minnesota is not just given up in this series. These guys are vets. I don't think that's gonna like make them
Nah,
like
yeah,
push any kind of buttons or like doubt anything. But it starts to plant a little bit of a seed of like, okay, this is still a series. This is not like, I think there was a piece in ESPN. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday, but it was like kind of like taking a look ahead a little bit to like how Dallas and Boston might match up. It was like,
yeah.
I
Yes.
don't know if
Well,
anybody read that and was like, yeah, let's hold on a little bit.
the TNT guys were doing that too on the pregame show. I saw
Yeah,
they're looking ahead to, and when it's never been done before,
of
that's
course.
probably the
Yeah.
temptation. But I don't think it was anything about them. I don't think they're going to take the Wolves lightly. I
No.
think more than anything, they just miss shots they normally make.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take anything away from the Wolves defense because it was much better than it has been the
Yeah.
first three games. But I think if you're them, if you're Dallas, you're probably going to say, okay, we're probably not going to shoot that poorly again.
Yeah.
And this is where, if I'm the Wolves, you have to say, okay, we played better, we finished, we got Cat going,
Yeah.
but we can't expect
Do it again. Yeah.
Luka and Kyrie to shoot
Right.
30% again. And sounds like they may get Lively back
Right.
for game
Which is
5.
big.
And so that's a huge thing. And so that's what I'm saying. They have to bring the same desperation and then some, because
Yeah.
I just don't think you can anticipate that they're going to shoot as poorly as they did tonight.
Final thoughts then. What do you think happens Thursday night back at Target Center?
I sent this to our boss this morning. I said, I have a gut feeling that the Wolves win tonight. They win game 5, and then it goes back to game 6 in Dallas. From there, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how Dallas handles that, because it's human nature. They'll start hearing, "Hey, this has never been done before." Now, you have veterans over there, so I don't know if they're going to be rattled by it. But I felt like I just didn't think the Wolves were going to get swept. I think they're too good to get swept. I think they will ride the momentum and be at home, and I think they'll play better at home. I think they win that, and then so I think they win Thursday night, and then back to Dallas for game 6.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Again, a lot of these 154-0, a lot of it's, probably 1 versus 8.
That's
or
it.
It's,
That's it. Yeah.
it's a lot of lopsided series, or a lot of times, someone gets hurt and the series kind of takes a turn, like the Boston series just was when Halliburton went out and they swept the Pacers. So it's like more often than not, like 2/3 of the time, I think they flash a graphic, it ends in a sweep. So the Wolves avoided that at least. But yeah, I think I give them a pretty good chance to get it to a game 6 at least. And
I do too.
once you do that, you can start talking yourself into a lot of things at that point. But you're right. They can't take anything for granted. They got to come out and play with the same level of intensity. And I think they're still kind of playing to their strength, which has been adversity and not prosperity in these playoffs, right? Like they seem to do better when less is expected of them, or when the pressure of you're supposed to win now isn't on them.
Well, and go back to our original point. All 4 of these games have gone down to the wire.
Yeah, they have.
And the first 3, Dallas made a place. They had closers, but the Wolves also imploded in some of these, at just the worst times. And so these are 2 evenly matched teams just by what we're seeing. And so, it's a play here or there. It really is. It's going to swing these things. And so, it's not like they're overmatched, or there's, they're not in a situation where they feel like no matter what they do, the other team's, far superior. No, that's not it. It's just, you got to execute at the critical times, and and we saw that tonight. And if they can keep Towns going and playing at that level, I just feel like this thing's going to game 6, and we'll see where it goes from there when they're back in Dallas. But this was a big one. This gives them a ton of momentum coming home.
I think they got annoyed too. I think they're getting more annoyed by the game at Luka, and they've kind of found an enemy to rally around.
Yeah. What does it take for him to get a technical foul?
What does it take for him to think he might have committed a foul? It's like every single play is like, what? Me? I don't know. I didn't do anything.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's like he's great. Like his
talent is unbelievable. But
that skip pass he threw into the corner today, I mean, that was like something else. It was like, man, he's so good, but just give it a break.
The constant whining is just exhausting. It really is.
I'm sure people feel the same way watching Ant and Towns. Like,
Probably.
They're like,
Yeah.
hey, every time their towns go to the floor, every time he shoots a layup. But
Yeah.
it's Luka is just
He's at another level.
he's on another level. But we'll see. They gotta contend with that. They haven't they haven't won a home game in this series, and they weren't great in the Denver series at home either.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But it's fun. Hey, it beats going home. They showed they didn't want to go home at least, and
That is true.
give people a chance to see at least one more game at Target Center. Chip, appreciate it. We'll talk to you again
All
soon.
right, brother. All right, we'll see you.
Great stuff from Chip. Appreciate him all series long, jumping on with me late after games to make sure that we can have podcasts up relatively soon, whether it was right after the game in the case of the bonus episodes or early Wednesday today, as was the case. So thanks again to Chip for that. Like we talked about, I felt the energy was different at the start of Game 4. I don't know why it took them longer to find that energy in this series than it did in previous series, but they've got it now. Can they sustain that kind of energy, that kind of desperation, that kind of edge that they're going to need in Game 5? If they win Game 5, can they sustain it for Game 6? It's hard to keep that going. It's hard to have that kind of grind, that mindset for that long of a time, but they're going to need to if they are going to make history. History starts a game at a time. Can they do it Thursday night? I think another thing that will determine that is whether Tuesday was a function more of how well the Wolves played or if it was more of a function of Dallas missing some shots finally, like they probably hadn't since Game 1, the game that got away from the Wolves. We're going to find out. At least we get a chance to find out where this all stands, where this all sits. Can't wait for it. Thursday night at Target Center. Let us finish with the cooler. Two big things for the cooler. It's kind of a weird structure to today's show. You got to be able to change things up when the occasion calls for it. PWHL Minnesota, huge, big game tonight at Boston. The heartbreak of Game 4. A championship right on the cusp. The goal in overtime. You're sitting there like everybody, all the players stream onto the ice. They think they've won the game. Everybody's going crazy. Fans at XL Energy Center going crazy. Think they've won the inaugural Walter Cup, the big trophy for PWHL. And then there's a review. And then they determine it's goalie interference. And then less than 2 minutes later of ice time, Boston scores the winner to send it to a Game 5, a deciding Game 5 tonight. It was the right call. Nobody should dispute that. It was the right call. What hurts is the energy that gets sucked out of the building, how hard it would be to come back from that in the moment. Now, having had a couple days to digest it, to think about it, can PWHL Minnesota wipe it away, have that chance to win again tonight, to win that cup? That is a big question. It's a hard emotional hurdle, but I think they're taking the right mindset into it. Read an interesting quote from Taylor Heisey, the excellent player for PWHL Minnesota, who was involved in that dramatic play the other night, basically like framing up what this means, what they have a chance to do, the mindset they have to have going into this game, even after what happened the other night. It's easy to get down. It's easy to say, we lost it. We had that opportunity. We lost it, and now what do we do? She said, we couldn't be more excited. We get one more game with this group, and we're going to take full advantage of it. This is not an obstacle. It's an honor. We get to play a championship Game 5. If they can maintain that mentality, wipe away the disappointment of Game 4, you got to like their chances in Game 5. That is a big emotional hill to climb. Twins, meanwhile, maybe played one of their best games of the year. 4-2, just a solid baseball score, right? 4-2 tells you pitched, you hit enough. They made some great defensive plays in that game against Kansas City. Carlos Correa made a few big ones, including a nice tag in the ninth inning with the Royals trying to swipe a base to get the tying run into scoring position. Really turned that entire inning around. Joan Duran capitalizes on that momentum, sets Kansas City down the rest of the way. What a weird team. What a weird year, right? Like, it's up, it's down. They had that 7-game losing streak, and now they're playing a lot better. They've beaten the Royals a couple times, feeling good about themselves. It's not like a perfect team by any stretch of the imagination, but they are doing enough things right now. Byron Buxton starting to heat up a little bit, contribute in ways that he wasn't earlier in the year. Edward Julian had a big hit the other night. Jose Miranda's been great. You got to figure out how to keep his bat in the lineup once Royce Lewis is back and healthy. So some good questions, some good problems for them to have because they're winning right now instead of losing. And I don't know. I think the thing for them now is to establish some sort of baseline instead of this up down up down up down. Can they establish a baseline? Can they, when it goes bad, can they keep it to a 2 or 3 game stretch instead of a 7-game stretch, or like the beginning of the year when they lost, they started 2-0 and then they were 7-13 before you knew it. So they lost 13 of 18 after starting 2-0. Can they keep their baseline up a little higher is my question. That is what I'm going to be watching for the rest of this season. Plenty to watch, though, of course. PWHL Minnesota plays tonight. That game only on YouTube because the Lynx, Red Hot, and the Twins are both on Bally Sports North. Wolves game tomorrow, of course. It's a fun time in Minnesota sports. A lot of tension. That's why we love it, though. That's why we watch. Got to watch these games. Got to love it. Until tomorrow, I am Michael Rand. Chris Hine should be joining me tomorrow to talk more Wolves, by the way. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll be back at it again tomorrow.